Hey, welcome back to Boxes and Bubbles, where today we're looking at A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance number 8 from Image Comics. Created by Remender and André Lima Araújo. This is going to be a pretty unusual video. As much as I can, I try to stay spoiler free, but there are some instances in which I can't if I want to say anything about certain issues. In those cases, I like to plop in a spoiler warning, just so that those who want to read it themselves won't see anything that will ruin their experience. This time, the main bulk of the issue, and what makes it so exceptional, is one long sequence that I really don't want to spoil. Instead, I can talk about it and hope that I can do enough to pique your interest. I'll provide the usual spoiler warning, and after that, I'll talk a little bit more about it, but even then, I'm only going to go into a tiny bit of detail. Thanks to that, this is probably going to be a pretty short one. Just trust me when I say that this comic, though not for the faint of heart, is one of the most affecting comics I've read in my 6-ish years of reading almost all new releases every week. We're jumping in with issue 8 of this series today, but part of the reason for that is that this issue works absolutely perfectly as a standalone. You don't need to have read the previous issues, and it even ends in such a way that you don't necessarily need to read the next issue either. And if this one does hook you and get you wanting to go back to read from the start, though there are 7 issues before this, it's actually not too much to read because A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance's dialogue is remarkably sparse. It relies instead on the art to tell the story, which it pulls off extremely well. I can't help wondering if Benedict Wong, aka Wong, in the MCU has read this, because the resemblance between him and Sonny, the protagonist of this book, is, that's him, right? There's no way that you can say this guy doesn't at least look exactly like him, whether it was intentionally based on him or not. In earlier issues, his facial expressions and actions have been giving us all the information we're going to get, though as yet, he hasn't quite given us all that we need. Remender and Araújo are withholding certain pieces of information from us, and we still don't know his whole story. What we do know from the previous issues, and from the opener of this issue, is that he's taking care of a young man named Xavier, who has been abducted. We join them just as he finally finds Xavier, who isn't looking in such good shape. Naturally, Sonny wants to untie Xavier and get out of there as quickly as possible, but someone flicks a light switch, dazzling him and revealing a disemboweled man laying on the ground, and behind him, a dead couple, stripped naked and bound together with barbed wire. Worse still, it reveals a camera, positioned to capture whatever it was that happened to these 3 victims. Then the killer enters, says, "You're ruining my shot." He swings his hammer. And that's about all I can give you without spoiling what comes next. If you're curious, I highly urge you to read it, but know that it's only going to get more grisly from here. So this is the spoiler warning I was telling you about. I'll give just a bit more information for those who don't mind a little spoiler next, but as I said, I'm not going to give away everything, because this really is a ride you need to experience yourself. Alright? Here we go. After being cracked in the head, Sonny wakes up, stripped to his underwear, and tied to a chair. The killer is adjusting the camera to look right at him. "Okay," he says, and smashes 2 light bulbs together. Collecting up the pieces, he says, "And action." From then on, almost the entire remainder of the issue is one of the most intensely painful torture sequences I have ever seen. I gritted my teeth throughout the entire thing. What makes it work so well is how real and grounded it feels, thanks to those 2 light bulbs. I really think that was an ingenious touch. Those thin slivers of glass are so much more effective than, say, a knife, because I've never been stabbed. I can't understand that pain. But I've sliced a finger on a sharp object before though, so I can imagine the various horrendous pains that those shards cause so vividly. This isn't some elaborate theatrical torture from a horror movie. It's lo-fi in a way that makes it feel so much more real and relatable than any of that. And it's horrible, but being made to feel something is the entire point of a work of art. Art isn't successful if you consume it and feel nothing. So while reading this isn't a particularly pleasant experience, I still recommend it because it takes you on such a ride. So this issue was a harrowing experience. I can't imagine what's going to come next, but whatever it is, it can't be good. And that's all for this one. But if you're interested in any other books that came out recently, check out the rest of the channel for some more spoiler-free reviews, and give me a follow on Twitter at boxesandbubbles to hear about all the comics I read every week but don't have time to make videos about. That's all for this time, but I'll see you next time. Bye!